Hello, I want to use standard Power BI visualizations today and do something with them that will make them first look a little bit different, and then the next step is to make them look very different. Just to give you some examples of how you can perhaps display your data in a different way to make it stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to start off by doing something very simple, which is creating a standard line and clustered column chart. So I'm going to take my data, I'm going to put it into a line and cluster column chart. For the sake of this, I'm just removing the values that I don't want so we can get to the point a little bit faster. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to use my very standard work on my x-axis, where first of all, I'm going to take away the concatenation from the labels, and then I'm going to completely remove the inner padding. What I want to do then is I want to my data colors to apply conditional formatting. This is again very standard stuff. I'm going to format it by rule, and I want to format it by the metric that I'm showing. So basically, if it's greater than or equal to 0, or if it's less than the maximum, is greater than or equal to the minimum, and is less than that. So then I'm just going to choose some colors. I'm going to say for the top one, I'm going to maybe try and choose a less ugly green, see how that works. Okay. And then for this one, I'm going to choose that red. So now I have my conditional formatting. Nice. It looks a little bit different already, I would say, because we've removed that inner padding, which people tend to stick with. Yeah. What I'm now going to do is something a little bit different, and I'm going to add this value again to the line value. Now, I'm going to use a second measure, and I'll show why I'm going to do that in a second. You can use the same measure twice, but for this, I prefer using two different measures. And it's exactly the same calculation. First of all, I'm going to switch off the legend because that could be confusing because we don't need that anyway. Then I'm going to go to my shapes, and I'm going to go stepped is on. Now, the reason for that, as you might see, is because I'm kind of creating this, for me, quite a cool little border around all of my values. And then you can play around with the colors a little bit to maybe make that pop out a little bit more. So if I just kind of make this like an off-white, and then on the data colors for the temperature too, I can make that like a solid white, or maybe like a dark is better. So something like that. For me, already looks quite different from what you'd consider to be a standard Power BI line clustered column chart. To add your values to that, and this is why I chose two separate measures, is that if I now go to data labels and switch them on, obviously it's immediately very messy because you've got double values for everything. So I can then choose to customize my series, and for maybe the second one, just switch it off. And then for this one, which is the one that's left switch on, I can say, okay, remove my background, and then do the little bits and pieces that are going to maybe help display that data in a better way. You could say show a position maybe inside end, and then change the color accordingly. These are the little bits and pieces. So for me, that on its own, that little change on its own, I think really helps this stand out a little bit. And I know it's just a border around your values, but it looks pretty cool. But that's not the main point of this video. The main point of this video is yet to come. So let's jump to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove now my line value, because that part is done. But moving on to the second part, I don't need this line value anymore. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Then I'm going to change this visualization type to a line chart. So when I do that, you'll immediately see that I have these dots on each of my points, and the conditional formatting that I had on my other visualization carries across to this visualization type. And what's really cool about that is that they actually aren't the shapes that you have here. They're actually still switched off. So now what I can do is I can switch those on, and I can make them pretty big. Let's just say make them like 15 or something, and you get that. Already quite cool. First of all, I'm going to change the color because it looks a bit horrible like that, and then I have that. Then I can go back to my shapes and I can choose to change that there. And I have this, which for me looks, first of all, it looks very different from a standard Power BI visualization. It looks very different. You could well argue and say, okay, but is that a really good way to display data? I think there are certainly going to be some use cases where that is going to be helpful. Of course, you can do a lot with it. You can also, you're not just changing the thickness of the stroke width. I think I've already hit maximum there. So make it as large as you can there, which apparently is 12. You could even say, I want to switch them off completely, so you're left with just the points. That's probably pushing your luck a little bit. But yeah, just those little bits and pieces and playing around and conditional formatting, then changing the visualization type, and really you can do some pretty fun stuff, and just allows you to explore Power BI and the possibilities a little bit more. So that's why I want to show you that. I hope you enjoy it. You may come away thinking, okay, but I'm not going to use that. Of course, perfectly fine. But at the very least, I hope you learned something a little bit new about Power BI visualization. And yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye. Have fun with that.